Good morning to everyone and welcome to our second Pittsburgh SMALLab Consortium 2.0 meeting. This is a follow-up meeting to our kickoff that we had back in August, hosted by John Bailish and his team at Carnegie Mellon ETC, where many folks were able to come together to experience some of the new technology innovations that are going on there in the education front that are really pushing the envelope, and also provide EdMotion with an opportunity to share a demo of SMALLab and its capabilities, and hopefully give folks an idea about the capabilities of the platform and where we are looking to take SMALLab moving forward and into the future. Jeff Ivanko is the Director of Partnerships and Equity for Northgate School District. In his role, he builds district capacity by establishing strategic partnerships for the purpose of developing equitable and innovative Northgate experiences for students, staff, and community. Some of the partnership organizations that he has worked with to bring about change, positive change in the district, include Harvest Project Zero, Children's Museum of Pittsburgh, local foundations, Benedum, Hines, and Grable, and more. Jeff was instrumental in securing the Remake Learning Moonshot Grant, which is tasked or was focused on developing mental health interventions as an engaging force for good using technology, games, and horticulture. And in doing so, Northgate School District has partnered with Carnegie Mellon, ETC, Allegheny Health Network, SimCoach Games, Chill Therapists, and SMALLab by EdMotion to build an ecosystem for developing, testing, and scaling ideas. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Jeff.
Thank you, Alton. That sounded fantastic. I could pretty much exit the screen after that. I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody being here. As you were talking, Alton, I started, kind of thinking about the concept of a consortium and kind of how it relates to Northgate School District. I'm not sure if everybody is familiar with the district itself, but we're a small district, high poverty. We have about 60% students that live in poverty, only about 1,000 students across 2 square miles of Bellevue and Avalon. And we're used to being kind of nimble and hack our way through figuring out how to operate in a deficit budget. That's pretty much how we think about, we're forced into innovation, I guess. And so I think about that concept, like one of our mottos is to do more with less. And that's how we engage in every project. And I think that spirit is also the same spirit of consortium, that you can bring together a group of organizations with similar goals and missions to do more with less by pooling our resources, our ideas, and concepts. So I appreciate that intro. What I want to do is maybe think about giving like a 30,000-foot view as to how we're thinking about our moonshot and what it relates to SMALLab technology and what it might mean for a consortium. So we wrote our moonshot grant that is related to mental health needs, and we are in the process of, like I think most school districts, is as soon as students started coming back from the pandemic, as well as our adults, we started to see much higher than normal trauma, and with whole that kind of emerged the need for a partnership with Allegheny Health Network, which is one of our primary partnerships, given that we have Suburban General Hospital and their innovation team in our backyard. The first kind of connection point was through Dr. Will Davies and the Chill Project, which has been spreading like wildfire throughout the region. I'm not sure how many school districts they are connected to at the moment, but I know it's over 30. They have a human resource problem where they can't staff their mental health services fast enough to meet the needs of schools. But we were fortunate enough to be kind of an early adopter in that space. And so we have, the way our school district works, we have 2 elementary schools that go from K to 6th grade, and then they feed into a middle school and high school, which are separate schools, but in the same building complex. In our partnership with Will Davies and the Chill Project, we have created chill rooms. And for those of you that don't know, a chill room is a space that it is exactly that. It's designed for students to chill and de-escalate and have mental health services connected to that space. We have chill rooms in all of our buildings, and we have 6 therapists, licensed therapists, and teachers full-time in the district, and we're busting at the seams. And the way that the Chill program works is that they have 3 different tiers of interventions. Tier 1 intervention would be classroom style lessons, mostly in mental health, creating an understanding of our mental health and our abilities to de-escalate, preventative, or even kind of in the moment. Tier 2 types of services are drop-in services that happen in that chill room where our therapists are all the time if they're not doing classroom lessons at that tier 1 level. And then tier 3 are billable hospital type services in terms of one-on-one therapy. And so that chill model has, one, we saw a tremendous need for it. Our students love it, our teachers love it, and we could essentially turn every room into a chill room, and would have a fantastic educational ecosystem. So that concept of a mental health ecosystem is really where we became mostly intrigued. Our superintendent, Caroline Johns, and a few of our board members are also avid horse people. Equine, I don't want to screw the word up, but I know it's a thing. And we take students to horse farm, high trauma students that come from situations of violence, high levels of trauma. We take them to the horse farm for horse therapy. And that becomes a biweekly type of service that we've also seen profound types of experiences. So that then the moonshot concept came up, and we started to look at what our problem space is. Our problem space is we don't have any money. We don't have enough people to do school in general. And we don't have enough people to serve our mental health needs. And so that became like, how do we think about shooting for the moon in something that's normally not done in schools? And so we started to think about creating a scalable mental health ecosystem. And we know to scale, like how can you scale when you don't have people? You can leverage technology in new ways. We can leverage our students in new ways as experts. And then we can think about new services that schools don't provide, like horticulture therapy, which became kind of a new concept. So we think about this ecosystem or this web of mental health services. We're going to say we're going to have the chill room and the services that provides. We're going to have our horse farm therapy and the services that provides. We're in the process of building a greenhouse, and Will Davies' team has wanted to do horticulture therapy because it's not traditionally done in Western Pennsylvania, or in Pennsylvania in general, but it is done nationally. So we want to think about what a school-based site looks like for that. And then it brought us into this technology space. Like, can we create technology? Can we create engaging games? Can we create engaging experiences that tackle mental health, that spread kind of the capacity of the human resources, but also help us really get at the root of what's really triggering our students in today's day and age? So that became the moonshot that was funded to build a greenhouse and create a horticulture therapy program with the Will Davies Chill team, as well as to create a digital chill space that we can rapid prototype and create new interventions, whether they be on that tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3, that can be scaled. And we think of scale as scaling within our school district, scaling within classrooms, scaling within the broader region. We then partnered with John, who's a good friend, and we've gotten into a lot of trouble together in the innovation building cool stuff space. And so John kind of got us hooked up. We used our grant to purchase through the ETC. We think Northgate students, it's really important that students are our clients, rather than traditionally having like an adult like myself saying, this is what we want. We wanted to have the project team work directly with our students to understand the mental health of high school and middle school students, as well as to engage them in the iterative process of building interventions. So we built 2 teams. We have an 8th grade team because our middle school, high school is the same building. We have 2 teams, a middle school team, and then we have a high school team. And they meet every Wednesday with a therapist and a mental health teacher. And the ETC project team kind of engages them on that, understanding the problem and the iterative process of building new technological interventions that are game-based. And when we think of game-based, we think of it more broadly as an engaging experience for students. So connected to all of that, John had connected us to Alton, and in comes the SMALLab. And I've known a little bit about SMALLabs just throughout the region. And traditionally, I've seen SMALLabs in small spaces. And having been in school administration for a while, I know that space is a high commodity, just like time is. But we wanted to think of our SMALLab as how do we maximize space? And I think this is kind of an important point if somebody is thinking about acquiring a SMALLab for teaching and learning in the future. We took a classroom that's almost a double-sized classroom. We brought our students in again as the clients to think about what is a space that you would like to be in, and to do X, Y, and Z type of work. We then turned that into a design thinking space / SMALLab. So it's a large, kind of like a large group instruction room that's retrofitted with whiteboards that I stole from Suburban General Hospital with their permission. We use some of our moonshot to get some new furniture so that you can write on everything and kind of make your ideas and thinking visible. Suburban General donated some paint, so we painted the walls very similar to their most recent hospital in Wexford because that paint was free. And then Alton kind of helped us secure a SMALLab in that space. And so the biggest thing with a SMALLab is you don't want to have light in the room. You have to be able to make it completely dark. And so now we have a space where you can use a SMALLab to engage in, physical learning. I think of a SMALLab as a 3-dimensional touchscreen that's, about 14 foot by 14 foot that kids can engage in. So you have that aspect of a classroom where you also have a full classroom that you can fit 30 kids in to do other types of work, so that the use of a SMALLab becomes the arc of instructional design. It might be 20 minutes in a lesson, where our class periods at the high school level are 80-minute blocks. At the middle school level are 60-minute blocks. So we're really thinking about student engagement and how space plays a part in that. So to kind of recap some of this, the way that we have been thinking about all of this is our moonshot is creating an ecosystem of mental health services. We need to scale our challenges in being financially strapped and human resource strapped So we're leveraging technology and building new interventions. We're using a SMALLab plus, I think of it like a SMALLab on steroids, to create an innovative teaching and learning space where all of our teachers can access that. But we're also, every Wednesday, we have our students working with an ETC design team to build new interventions, hopefully that we can roll out to this broader community. And now we see that as our model. We're going to continue to build prototypes. Then after those prototypes come out, we're going to polish them and then scale them. And so I think that's, I want to pause there. I guess one last piece. We're a middle school and high school kind of complex. And I have also seen, when I originally thought of a SMALLab, I thought of elementary school and traditional engagement at an elementary level. We're also really interested at the secondary level of how you use this type of technology to engage students. And we're seeing our teachers, specifically math and science, at a secondary level on their own, come into the space, engage with the curriculum design team, and start to leverage SMALLab technology in their instructional design. So we've got mental health, we've got how do you make it just a natural thing that teachers want to use without it being the next initiative. And how do we create new opportunities to do more with less is the way that Northgate School District is kind of thinking about all this stuff. I don't know if that's what you wanted, Alton, but that's kind of what came out of the brain.
No, thank you for that background and that overview of sort of the journey that you guys have been on over the years, and how you guys are, clearly thinking, next level and without constraints on how to solve and address real problems, real tough problems. And it's great to hear. I mean, and, let's open it up for any questions that folks may have for Jeff about the Chill project or how they're using SMALLab, but certainly the idea from and what we're excited about is what Jeff just spoke of, developing and evolving prototypes, refining this approach, and seeing if we can develop efficacious solutions that provide additional usage of the platform, and to go along with not just what's happening now, but even looking towards the future, and where do we take it from here, and is really exciting stuff. So let me just open it up, to questions for Jeff.
And I'd also just shared a link that I want to honor the students from the ETC and the hard work that they're doing. They created a lovely little website that has a blog of kind of their journey in developing some of those prototypes. So that it helps, I think, create a visual as to some of the things that I was talking about.
SMALLab Flare. Yeah, looking at it now.
Their blog has like all 9 weeks of their journey, and they're still in the middle of their journey, ending the semester in December, where those first three prototypes will be coming out the other end. But it's been a great process so far.
Jeff, could you talk a little bit about those 3 prototypes that they're developing and their initial approach?
Their initial and approach, really understand how they're thinking about mental and behavioral health, ranging from mindfulness and beyond. And then after doing that, they interviewed the kids. They engaged our students in a variety of different human-centered design activities to balance them out and what calms them, and then to develop. So then they have like is to create these prototypes that are game-based and engaging experiences. And they have the ability to use things like the SMALLab in that development of technology. And when you're using the SMALLab, you have the ability to use sound and motion and your body to engage those things. So they're doing some experiences where you're actually capturing the emotions. It's hard to explain, where you're physically standing on in this space, and you're working with some of your friends to create a collaborative experience and capture and move different types of emotions, whether those be positive emotions in one way and negative emotions in another way. And all of that being done helps them understand how to make that connection to when we feel angry. How can we push anger in one direction, or how do we capture more positivity? And so they're developing these types of experiences where kids can play, but also really develop an understanding of themselves. Because in a school, we have de-escalation issues, right? A kid can have some type of a traumatic experience, and they flip out in class, and it becomes a behavior management issue. And a lot of it boils down to the fact that they don't have the tools to understand how to control their own emotions in real time. Right, so we're thinking about how do we develop tools that can help kids better understand that, but also tools that teachers can use more broadly to help their students through some of those things, so that they don't become behavior issues, which we tend to see a high frequency of that in high poverty environments.
Awesome. John, do you want to comment on anything just from the CMU ETC side?
So if people are familiar with how the Entertainment Technology Center works, Jeff sort of spelled it out quite well, but our students are on a 14-week development cycle. So from just a half-page description, they are sort of unleashed and work with our partners and their teams to develop these sprints. So they are often, exactly how Jeff put it, they are often prototypes, and hopefully they can be hardened over time. There are other initiatives. Alton, if you want me to take it off from here, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah.
Or I can back up. But if there are any questions that develop, feel free to put them in the chat, or just raise your digital hand. Or just unmute yourself. It's all good, and we're all very familiar with this this format. So don't be shy if you do have questions, or you're not understanding something, because it might get into a little bit of a technical talk. But the history of the consortium, as you all know, was sort of brewed by some local foundations, and the concept would be, if we can develop more scenarios at the ETC, can we roll them out to all the small labs in the district? And that was the approach, and that was the model, and it worked for some time. Again, the fragile nature of prototypes was one of the hangups initially. Especially because, as I mentioned, our prototypes are getting developed in 14 weeks, and then our teams shuffle. So there is usually not support after that initial exploration. Since then, we've all learned quite some bit, and we also have buy-in from Alton and his team to say, if there is a prototype that is scaling well and is should be polished up and brought up to the latest version, then EdMotion will do that after acquiring the intellectual property, which is great. I know that that the EdMotion team has secured several of the old SMALLab games that were developed here at the ETC. So a few of them will be brought up and sort of touched up for the latest versions on the latest technologies, which is always exciting. So that's really great, and that is the model for the Entertainment Technology Center when it comes to student projects. Now, as the director of K through 12 for the Entertainment Technology Center here at CMU, we are actually looking for longer plays. And since we are the ETC, we're really looking at how to create opportunities for interactive storytelling. And so one of the core offerings from the Entertainment Technology Center has always been Alice. Alice is a virtual reality prototyping tool, is what was initially designed for. A lot of folks in our region and around the world have used it for learning computer science principles and animation principles for years and years and years now. The Alice team, of course, is interested in scaling their platform as well as their offerings. So there are some exciting developments from the world of Alice, and the ability to experience Alice and Alice worlds in various platforms and formats, including a SMALLab. And so I can talk about that in a little bit as well. But going back to the sort of the through line of interactive storytelling. So regardless of the subject matter, regardless of the technology, we're usually telling stories, and we want to sort of position our work at the center of that. So beyond just the semester-long projects, there are projects like Alice, there are projects like Wick Editor. We have some bubbling XR projects, so extended reality projects with our partners on main campus through a project called Arena, and they all play very nice with SMALLabs. So that gets me to, I think, what I am really excited about, which is in the spring for Remake Learning Days, we would like to activate any willing and available SMALLab schools to take part in a, this is where it's going to sound crazy, take part in a networked and persistent extended reality story time. So the way that I would break that down is imagine a flip book, you know, like a 3D pop-up book, except it's in your SMALLab and the author is reading it to you live across every SMALLab in our region. So everyone is in their own SMALLab in a extended reality world that is synced up live to the author that is reading that story. Again, because you can track sound and audio, you can have interactive elements pop up behind you. You can hear things behind you. You can hear things in front of you. 3D objects can fly around and do whatever. That's the sort of the beauty of the OptiTrack system and the SMALLab technology. The other thing to think about that is right now, the SMALLabs are cast to the ground, but these technologies also offer using devices, tablets, phones, headsets, whatever, to experience the virtual world in a one-to-one representation. So again, you're not just looking at the story on the surface or the floor, but 3D avatars can fly around you, interact with you, and same with spatial audio. So the target is to, for our Remake Learning event, is to secure a well-known author, create the content around one of their stories and deploy it during Remake Learning Days. There would be a small ask of those schools that would be interested, and that would just to be get familiarized with some of the newer technologies that come along with that, and that would essentially look like I think I can pull one up right here actually. Attaching something similar to this to a device or a TV or whatever you're using, but you probably are familiar with the, let's see if I can focus. Will you focus on this thing? Camera? No, too close, whatever. Anyway, you're probably familiar with this from your wands. This is just a 3D printed sort of attacher. Yeah, thank you, Alton. And you can probably see that light is passing through the holes. So you can change the configuration of these, meaning that you can have multiple devices all in the same set. The easiest way to translate it is you are creating more wands, but this wand can be mounted to a screen. This can be mounted to an object. It can be mounted to whatever. And we're designing the backend system to easily calibrate that into a SMALLab world. And then you are lifting the images off of the ground and into the 3D space. So because we are platform agnostic, and I think this is hilarious and I really want to go for it, is I know that not every school has an iPad cart or whatever, but you can actually attach these to a TV cart, and then they become a portal into the virtual world, and a giant one at that. So I'm really excited to see how you could drive through and make these older technologies relevant in the space again, which could be pretty exciting. So we're working with the Children's Museum to secure an author. And when we decide on who that is, we'll probably make a sort of announcement to see who wants to be part of the biggest, best extended reality story time for Remake Learning Days. The soft ask of that is like, hey, we'll take care of your Remake Learning Days, and you get to enjoy a story. But there will be a little bit of training available to make sure that that we can activate whatever platform that you have available in your space and make sure that it can connect to everything, which is pretty exciting. The other interesting thing too is we had a project in the past with an author who does multimodal learning and writes the series Inanimate Alice. And so we are rekindling our relationship with them to see how Inanimate Alice can be activated within the SMALLabs. And we are currently offering a limited amount of licenses for schools that are interested. So we will pay for, the ETC will pay for some licenses for the schools. If you are interested in that, please email me at the address below, and we will see how that can work. That is, I think their curriculum is, let me find it so I don't mess it up. Inanimate Alice, there we go. And here we go in the chat again. So boink, there you go. And so you can see that we're really leaning in towards the interactive storytelling component. And that isn't just in SMALLabs, that is sort of middle school up curriculum design. And whatever that the bookend of that is, should be able to fit in the free and open source offerings from Carnegie Mellon University, which is exciting. There we go. I think that's the report from here.
Yeah, thank you, John. Questions for John, and just the direction, the incredibly innovative ways in which he's thinking about, education, innovation, sort of at the intersection of traditional course of instruction and leveraging new technologies to deliver enhanced learning environments. We couldn't be more excited to be in collaboration and partnership with John in this effort. But really sort of where the rubber meets the road is with input and engagement by everyone on the call here to make it happen, and to figure out and help us figure out how to make it happen, how to polish it, how to optimize it, and make it work, at the front line where you guys are. And so we certainly welcome questions, feedback, ideas. And if folks have a desire to get involved in any of these in more substantial ways, we certainly welcome your time, effort, ideas to help us execute. Because at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. Great ideas, but it takes a team to work together and to execute to bring these to fruition. But I'll pause there. I had a chance to have a call with the Inanimate Alice folks a couple weeks ago. Blown away. And one of the things I really liked about it was that it was very much open and collaborative environment. It wasn't just, at first I thought it was going to be like a one-on-one type of interactive storytelling environment, but in fact, it shares some of the open sharing, that open mixed reality environment in that in that interactive storytelling environment. And so it provides actually some really incredibly immersive content and storytelling, and takes us not just in the, yes, SMALLab is great for STEM and math and science, but here we're having a play that's more in the literacy area, that's interactive and is also not just limiting us to just the more math and sciences, but here is there's a very strong literary component to Inanimate Alice's and their approach, and exciting. Couldn't be more excited about what we're exploring going forward with respect to their platform and their stories. But questions for John or Jeff or any of this? Well, that's perfectly fine. I'll follow up afterwards. If you have questions for John or Jeff or myself or ideas for SMALLab going forward, we certainly welcome your thoughts, your feedback, your suggestions, and most importantly, your engagement as we start to bring more of these to the marketplace, if you will. I would say that our next meeting would probably be in the January timeframe, hopefully to provide an update on the Chill project and give some guidance as to a schedule or a rollout for additional play testing amongst the member schools and school districts, as well as additional updates on as we continue to flesh out and work with John and his team on this Remake Learning initiative, and what kind of things would be necessary on your end in order to take full advantage of what we're cooking up here.
Alton, I don't know if it's maybe a rhetorical question or a provocative question. And I think something to think about related to the next time that we meet. And I see there are 16 participants on the call. I don't know how many folks have SMALLabs and how many folks do not. A provocative question would be, is there, or what is the pathway for folks who do not have a SMALLab to secure a SMALLab? And then on the other side of that would be those of us that do have SMALLabs. We're all trying to make engage technological embodied types of learning experiences be part of the natural thing that we do, not like not just an activity that happens, but part of an instructional design that's used to deepen learning experiences. And so how some of us, or how all of us are doing that in a way to kind of share that more holistically within the consortium, I think could be beneficial, even if it's like taking trips to other schools to see some things. But also, I think in order for the consortium to work, for those that don't have small labs, we have to figure out ways to get them small labs.
No, perfect. No, great question, great tee up, if you will. That is one of the benefits of the consortium and in helping to both share best practices, some of which you've done with us today, which has been great, Jeff. But also to help share ways of obtaining, perhaps, grants and other financial support to enable the acquisition of a small lab, as has been done in the past. And that's something that John and I have talked about in relation to some of the upcoming just projects in general. But for schools that are interested in obtaining a small lab, we certainly want to work with those schools and help them find ways of helping, acquire them through either grants and other programs and so forth. And obviously, we really want to grow this community. So, we will do all that we can to help facilitate the acquisition and deployment of small labs. And really, this community is designed to share best practices like you've spoken about and how to use it. But it also, one of the things that we're investing in heavily is in teacher training and professional development. And we've got other initiatives that we haven't really talked about today as it relates to embodied learning and how to develop more of that, both in small lab and outside of small lab, quite frankly. And we're meeting with other researchers and other educators that are focused on, kinesthetic learning techniques in the traditional classroom that further, supplement and dovetail with the experiences that they're having in small lab to further capitalize on this multimodal, this physical enhancement to learning through movement. And so these are all things that we're looking at sort of on a broader scale, because we really believe in the importance of motion in learning and engagement. And it is the primary reason why when we formed the company, we chose EdMotion, this idea of education in motion, and that is what we are all about. And so this idea of how do we improve education through embodied learning approaches, extends it's not limited to just a small lab. And so that is something that is core to sort of who we are and how we look at the market and how we want to move forward. But if folks are interested in learning more about a small lab, if you don't have one, feel free to reach out to me, and we certainly can work with you to figure out all the available means to help you guys secure one, so that you guys can start to participate in these incredible new projects that you, John, and others have been working hard to bring to the greater Pittsburgh area.
Yeah, if I could just jump in really quickly, to sort of dovetail off that, we all know, and we're probably all in this room because of the initial work of the foundations in support of the original Small Lab Consortium. We know this model works. I think one of the best things to help grow this is to be an advocate for the work that you're already doing, and sharing the buzz, sharing the excitement that you have, because we know that if teachers are excited about this, then that is an easier ask for the foundations, where we know that model has worked before, and that is able to sort of extend. And the point of the consortium is, if we are able to get a new small lab and develop a new project for those. I'm speaking from the CMU ETC side of things. If we can develop more projects for that new site, then that project is deployed out through the rest of the consortium. That's a wonderful scaling model. That is the sort of, I think, the founding principles of the original consortium, and we know that it works. So I think the thing would be if educators and administrators say like, yes, this is working, we use it, there's still interest, then that leads back up to the foundations to say, hey, we'll kick in support for this again. So I would encourage everyone to hoot and holler, and if we do have a really good showing an outcome for the Remake Learning Days in the spring, that is a very good splash that I think could drive a lot of development as well.
Great, great. Well, I've dropped my email address into the chat if anyone does not have it. And with that, I'm going to close. I'm going to give you guys 9 minutes back to your day. And want to thank you all, especially Jeff and John, for sharing the updates on the great work that you guys have been doing. I want to thank everyone for carving out some time to learn more about what's going on with SMALLab. And we look forward to continuing our conversation, our dialogue, our collaboration in helping advance learning in the greater Pittsburgh area. And with that, I'm going to wish everyone a wonderful Thanksgiving, followed by hopefully a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. And look forward to connecting with you guys early in the new year